tell, then you see the road. I'm out to my soul into the size. Whenever the smoke clear out of my face and my picture perfect. Do it. All of that green together, the truth, yeah. Tell you the.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Cypherfics. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the fourth part of, What If Dannyphantom Meets Mario? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Phantom Fan 21 on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Danny flew Bowsette back to her castle and lands inside and turned them visible. Danny put her down and smiles. Thanks again for your help, Bowsette. Danny smiles. Anytime. Care for another round before you go home? She asked, flirting. Danny said, blushing. Before he could answer, Kamek steps up. Princess, welcome home. He said. Kamek, I see the castle is still standing, Bowsette said. So far the kingdom didn't know you left. And the rebels have been quite. Kamek said. Really? Bowsette asked confused. I've been meaning to ask, why are the rebels trying to overthrow you? Danny asked. Honesty? I have no idea. Bowsette said. Every spy or member we catch just won't give us a straight answer. Even my truth spell doesn't work on them. Kamek said. Danny raises an eyebrow. They were trying to overthrow Bowsette without reason. Danny didn't understand that. Bowsette then grabs his hand and started to pull him through the castle. Look, we can worry about it later. Let's have some fun before you go home. She said. Danny sighs. Maybe he should see if they can limit themselves after this. He felt like if they keep it up, Bowsette would become pregnant with his child. In the undergrounds, dry Bowsette's empty eye sockets glow as she stood up. She walks down the lair and stops. She turns and opens a door and walks inside. She saw a pot and hovering over it was another skeleton. She walks up and wraps her arms around it. Princess, it said. Hello, Mac. She said. It time, for it huh? He asked. Yes, I want my skin. Dry Bowsette told him. Mac sighs and pulls out a book. He opens to the spell and looks at her. Remember, you can only wear it for an hour. He said and chatted the spell. Dry Bowsette felt the tissue, muscle, and skin form. She looks at her body and smiles. She looks just like Bowsette, only her hair was red and her skin was reddish. She turns and saw Mac had also given himself skin, looking like a handsome man. Oh. You're going to join me? She asked. I'm the only person that you would do it. But I can tell I might not be the one anymore. Mac said. True, I think I found someone new but I can have you one last time. Dry Bowsette said smirking. Mac sighs and watches as Dry Bowsette took her clothes and steps up to him. Now hold still, I want to have lots of fun with you. She said pulling down his pants. Mac sighs as Dry Bowsette SCK on his pages. He didn't even fight when Dry Bowsette pushes him on the ground and started to RPE him. They continue for an hour and Dry Bowsette just kept going. Princess please, it's close to an hour. If you don't get off, Mac tries to say but Dry Bowsette kept him pinned. Mac, you have always been my favorite but I know the spell myself now. Just now, I recast it on you making you like this for another hour as I turn back to my dry bones self. She said as the skin faded off her. But princess. You're not going to use your death kiss on me, are you? Mac asked scare. Mac, I thank you for the wonderful times, but now I need a new toy and I found one. Dry Bowsette said before leading down. And you are an idiot. I never love you. She added before kissing him. Mac tries to break free but it was too late. His skin melts off until there were bones left. Dry Bowsette stood up and grabbed the skull of her former RPE toy. Too bad. I really like having you as my toy, she said and crushed the skull. She turns and walks out of the room, smirking to herself. Dannyphantom. You will be a member of my army and I will show you who the real princess is. She laughs. Bowsette as Danny move in her. They were in her room and they been at it for the past hour. Danny leaks again as Bowsette louder as she felt Danny fill her up. They both lay on the bed, with Danny on top of her. Bowsette, Danny said a bit out of breath. Yes. She answers. I think we need to cut back on that SEC time. I feel like you want to have it no stop. Danny said. I'm sorry. It just I love the way you feel inside me. The way you hit my G-spot and how warm your juices feel in my WMB. I can't help it. I just have to feel that again. Bowsette said. Bowsette, Danny started to say. But, even I know that we can't get too carried away. Tell you what, leak in me one more time and we'll take a week off from this. She said. Danny sighs and started to move again, slowly. Bowsette lays there and lets herself get lost in thought. Danny's right. I don't want us to have CC all the time. We need to cut back on this. I can feel myself getting closer to that wish. I'm not ready and neither is Danny. A week should be enough for us to settle down. Kem can't after me and Rachel is locked away. I want Danny but I need to let him live his life. I love him and I want him to be happy. She thought. Danny kept flirting, while also lost in his thoughts. Man, Bowsette really does feel good. But we need to really cut back. After entering her WMB back home, I think Bowsette was begging for a child. But she knows we're only 14, at least I think she is. I need to ask her if she doesn't mind that is. Still, a week break after this time. Yeah, that will help us settle down. Oh man, now I really want to make her scream. Danny thought before thrusting faster. Oh. Danny. Ugh. What are oh my. You doing? Oh, that feels good. Bowsette asked as she felt Danny hit her spot over and over again. Sorry, but I can't hold back. I want you to feel every bit of this until a week passed. I want you to scream. He said moving harder and faster. Bowsette could only loudly as she felt Danny smack their peaches together making her eyes roll to the back of her head. Danny kept going and could felt himself getting close. Scream, Bowsette. Say you want it. He told her. I want it. OHF, just leak in me. She screams. Danny wasted no time and move as hard and as in as he could. He could almost feel himself enter her WMB but he leaks before it could happen. Danny ends up letting more juices than he meant to but he kept himself inside Bowsette as she loudly. Finally, Danny felt himself stop and they both lay down on each other again. Oh, F. That felt really good. Bowsette said, I don't think I can move after that, Danny said tiredly. Bowsette then kisses Danny who kisses back. They broke and look at each other. Want to take a nap? After this, I think you might be too tired to head home. She said. Sure. Danny smiles. Bowsette still had some of her strength left and roll over until she was laying on Danny. Danny smiles as he wraps his arm around her as she places her arm around his chest. Without a word, the two fell asleep. A few hours later, Danny stood in front of Bowsette who smiles at him. Thank you for your help, Danny said. It was no problem. And thank you for helping me with Kem. Bowsette said back. It no problem. Danny smiles before looking around. 1 week from day right? He whispers. Yes, we can meet up at any time we want, but we won't do it until a week has passed. She whispers back. Danny nodded and they share a quick kiss. After that Danny flew off back home as Bowsette smiles. Bowsette smiles and walks back in her castle, not knowing someone was watching Danny leave. There he is. The one that took my queen from me. Kemple said as he stood on his boat. Your orders, sir? A guard asked. Follow him back to his hometown. I'll show him what happens when you mess with me and take what I rightfully earned. Kemple said. He wasn't the only one watching. A dry-boned soldier also saw Danny leaving and rush back to his princess. Dry Bowsette heard him coming and wait for the news. Princess, Dannyphantom has left the castle and is heading home. It said in a rattling voice. Good, that means Bowsette is alone. She smiles. However, Prince Kemple is following after him. My guess to get back on him for stealing your counterpart. It added. Dry Bowsette growls, if there one thing she can agree with her skin counterpart is that Prince Kemple is a stupid prince. She stood up and gave her orders. Ready the men and follow after him. Dannyphantom is to be a part of my army. Don't let anything happen to him, are we clear? She said. Yes, princess. The dry bone bows and ran off. Dannyphantom, yes, a member so strong, he might be fit to rule beside me. I can't wait. Dry Bowsette said and laughs. Danny flew back home and looked over his town. This past month has been an odd one. He never thought he'll meet a princess and became her boyfriend. Not to mention she went from someone that wanted to take over his town to be a nice person deep down. And she told him about his star power. Though it was very mysterious, it was powerful. He headed back to his house and hid away before turning back into his human form. He opens the door and steps in. Hey, Danny. Jazz said as Danny saw her. Hey, Jazz. He said back. So, how is my new sister-in-law? Jazz smirks. Jazz, we are too young for that but she doing just fine, Danny told her. Sure, Jazz smirks. Danny rolls his eyes and headed to his room but stops. Danny? Jazz asked seeing him stop. I just feel sorry for Rachel. I know she did me and all but Danny said unsure. Jazz sighs, it was just like her brother. She was completely shocked to hear that the new teacher had a thing for her brother. And she went as far as kidnapping him and did him. Sure, Danny was scared and upset but he still looks for the good in people. Before this whole thing, Rachel Wiccan was a teacher that did her job and got the school to clear up their act. I understand. Jazz said. You do? He asked confused. I met her a few times before all this started. I thought she was a pretty nice person. When she heard I was your sister she started asking me a lot about you. So I guess you can say I feel sorry for her as well. Jazz said. Danny sighs and thought about something. I kind of want to see her. Not in the way she thinks, maybe to check up her. Danny said unsure. I think you should. But not now. Give it a week first. You don't want her to think that you are seeing her because you love her. Jazz told him. Point. Danny agrees. Danny then turns and hugs his sister, surprising her at first, but she hugs back. Thanks, Jazz, Danny said. That's what I'm here for. She said. Kemple had his ship stop above the town and looks down at it. So, this is where the boy lives? He said. Prince Kemple, it been stated that Princess Bowsette had once tried to take over the town before declaring that it wasn't worth it to be part of her kingdom. A guard said. Why? Kemple asked. You said it yourself, this is where the boy lives. The guard said. Well then, let's give him our welcome, Kemple smirks. Not too far, another ship was close by and Dry Bowsette notices the town. She was also aware that her skin counterpart no longer wanted this town after the way they treated Danny. Princess? The dry-boned soldier asked. Kemple is going to make his move soon. Ready yourself. Today, we are acting as allies. She said. Kemple's ship flew close and he gave the order, knowing it would draw Danny out. The sounds of cannon fire were heard and people started to run from it. Kemple smiles before seeing Danny, flying out in his ghost form, and started to help some people away. Dannyphantom. He shouted, making the ghost boy turn to him. I have for you and to take back my love. He shouted. Great, this guy. Danny groans. Who that? Tucker asked. Prince Kemple, a guy that doesn't understand that Bowsette doesn't like him, Danny said. And he's here, why? Sam asked. Because I stole his princess, Danny said, rolling his eyes. So, you're the only one that had to deal with a crazy lover, Tucker said. Pretty much, Danny said, before flying up to him. You really can't take a hint, can you? Danny asked. Princess Bowsette is my love. Her father had agreed to let us be married. He said. With what proof? Even if you have it, Bowsette won't marry you. You lost the duel. Danny said. You are not a prince. You can't have her. Kemple yelled. And you're an idiot. Danny shouted. On that, I can agree. Both of them stops and turns to see what looks to be a skeleton version of Bowsette walking up to them. Dry Bowsette stops in front of them and looks at Danny. Dannyphantom, hero to all and boyfriend to my skin counterpart. She said and turns to Kemple. Prince Kemple, that false king of a forgotten kingdom, that never understood what love really was. She added. Who are you? Danny asked, getting a really bad feeling about her. Forgive me. I'm Princess Dry Bowsette. A dry bones counterpart of Princess Bowsette. She said, smiling. Dry bones? Kemple yelled. Huh? Danny asked. A dry bone is a skeleton that takes up forms of a person that was once alive. But that can't be. Princess Bowsette is clearly alive. Kemple said. Oh, my skin counterpart is very much alive. Dry Bowsette said. So what are you? Danny asked. As of now. Your ally. Dry Bowsette said. She then rushes up to Kemple and threw a powerful punch that looks to enter his stomach. Danny flew back a bit as Kemple gags and slumps over her bony hand. Dry Bowsette pulls her first away and watches Kemple fall to the ground. Dry Bowsette smirks before turning to Danny. I'm also here for another reason. I'm making an army to take back what's mine and I would like you to join me. She said. Danny didn't answer. He could tell something was telling him to run as Dry Bowsette steps closer. Dry Bowsette started to chant, and Danny watches as skin appears on her, making her look just like Bowsette, only with darker skin and red hair. She steps closer, and Danny just leads back. I also can see way my skin counterpart loves you. Anything she wants, I want it too. She said and kissed Danny. Danny was very shocked by it. He could feel the same kiss that he gets from Bowsette, and it was almost enough for him to start kissing back. However, he started to feel something being drained from him. He quickly pushes her away and took a few steps back, feeling weak. What was TT that? Danny said as he felt his star power work to recover what he lost. Forgive me, it appears my death kiss still works. Dry Bowsette said. Death kiss? Danny shouted. How else am I going to make an army? Dry Bowsette said. Danny really didn't trust her now, no matter how much she looks like Bowsette. Dry Bowsette steps up again and pulls Danny into another kiss. Danny could feel something trying to drain him fully and grew weaker and weaker each passing second. However, Dry Bowsette was cut off when something stabs her in the back, making her break the kiss and screams in pain. She turns and saw Kemple was back on his feet and had stabbed his sword into her back. She grew upset, and her skin disappears. She reaches over and grabs him. Fool! Now you will suffer a fate worse than death, she said, and pulled him in a kiss. Danny watches weakly as Kemple's skin seems to melt away until there was nothing but a pile of bones. Dry Bowsette turns and held up his skull. She looks at Danny and crushed it. There, now my skin counterpart won't have to worry about him ever again, she said, and started to walk up to Danny. Danny pushes himself up, still weak from that draining he was under himself. However, Dry Bowsette kiss him again, and Danny was feeling even weaker. No, not like this. I can't go like this, Danny thought as his version blur. Dry Bowsette didn't let go and smiles. Yes, that it. It will be over soon. And I will have my king, she thought. However, the star power in Danny notices something was wrong with its host and acted. It shines brightly, pushing away the darkness that was covering Danny, and soon blasts Dry Bowsette off him. Danny panted as he felt his strength return and got his version back. Dry Bowsette pushes herself to her feet and looks at him in surprise. No. You have the star power? She asked, shocked. My star power? Wow, never thought it would save my life, Danny thought. Well, this changes things, she said, and walks up to him. Danny stood up and readied himself. He was still weak, but he wasn't going to let her get away with this. I was wondering why it was taking so long to drain you. Still, your lips are truly something. I'm taking you back to my kingdom, she said, and threw a punch. Danny was caught off guard as he gags. Dry Bowsette smirks and whispers something into his ear. I get stronger with each person I drain, she said as Danny passes out. She saw him turn back to his human form and caught him. She smirks and turns to the guards close by. Ready the ship. We got what we came for, she said. Down below, Tucker and Sam waited for Danny to get back down when they saw another airship appear. What was strange is that the ship looked white and the flag had a different face than the one they seen Bowsette have. Sam spotted something and tried to get a better look. It was hard to make out, but she could have sworn she saw Danny being carried on the ship by a girl that looks like Bowsette. The ship turns and flew away from town. That ship got Danny, she shouted. Tucker looks at her shocked, but there was nothing they could do. The ship was too high and far for them to mount or accuse. They watch as the ship disappears, with their friend. Bowsette sat on her throne, thinking about Danny. She thought about how handsome she was, how kind he was, and how heroic he was. She blushes and couldn't stop a sequel from escaping. Kamek notices and sighs. She was acting like a lovesick girl ever since Danny brought her back. He also knew that she was trying not to picture her wedding with him since they both got some years to go. She was snap out of it when one of her guards ran in, with a note in his hands. Princess. Princess. He shouted. What is it? Can't you see I'm daydreaming? Bowsette yells. But, Princess, it a message from the spy you left at Amity Park. Prince Kemple attack Amity Park, he said. What? Bowsette shouted angrily. Dannyphantom went to deal with him, but he was last seen being carried onto another ship with a person that looks just like you, he said. Bowsette was surprised at that. Someone that looks like her took Danny. It was bad enough that Rachel already took Danny against his will, and now this happens again. No. I won't stand for it, she growls in thought. Find out where he's being taken. No one steals my boyfriend and gets away with it, she orders. Princess, the spy said that ship was heading back here. I think the rebels have him, the guard said. Bowsette growls even more and stood up. Both the guard and Kamek knew what that meant, and quickly left the room. Kamek shut the door just as Bowsette roars and fire started to spread from her mouth. Kamek turns to the guard and nods. Find out what you can. I have a feeling she's not going to stop until he's safe. He said. Danny groans as he tries to make the world stop spinning. He notices that he was back in his human form, and he was wearing a different set of clothes. They were mostly black, but his new shirt had bones over it, making it look like his ribcage. There were even bones on his arms and legs. He then felt something on his face. He felt it and tries to pull it off. Now, I wouldn't do that. He stops and turns to see a dry-boned soldier walking up to him. The skull mask can only be removed by our queen. Should you try to remove it yourself, you'll just rip your face off. He said. Danny lowers his hands and looks around. Where I am? He asked. Back at our base. The queen wanted to make sure you're recovering. Since you are immune to her death kiss, we had to dress you up as a dry-bone king. He said. What? Danny asked, shocked. That's enough. Let me speak to my king. They both turned and saw Dry Bowsette standing at the door. The dry bones bows and left the room. Danny stood up, and faces the skeleton counterpart of his girlfriend. Dry Bowsette walks up to him and places her hands on his shoulders. Sleep well? She asked, pulling him into a kiss. Danny tries to break free, but something was making him relax and kiss back. Dry Bowsette broke the kiss and smirks. The mask makes you obey me and only me. So if I want something from you, you will give it to me. Sadly, I cannot get the power star from you. It must be giving Feely. She said before chanting. Her skin appears and smirks. Now, don't you worry, I won't force you into something you don't want. But I really need a new toy. She added before pushing Danny on the bed. And what I want now is for you to F me until my skin falls off. Dry Bowsette said, pulling her dress off. Danny tries to call his powers, but they were being blocked by something. Dry Bowsette smirks as she pulls out his huge PP before putting it inside her PP. The mask is also blocking your powers. And you can't use them until the mask comes off. And that won't be until we marry. She said, shocking him. Marry? He shouted as Dry Bowsette did him. Yes. It only fitting that a dead queen should marry a person that also dead. And the best part? My skin counterpart has no idea where we are. Dry Bowsette said, grabbing Danny's hands and placing them on her melons. Danny tries to pull himself away, but his body didn't obey. Dry Bowsette leads towards his face and smiles. You're mine now, and unlike your math teacher, I'm not letting you go. She said before kissing him. Koopa Castle. Bowsette calmed down, and started to think why the rebels would capturing Danny. Not to mention the report on the ship that has him. It was very much like one of her own but was very different. The sides look to have bones hanging off, and the image on the flag looks different than she uses. Try as she might, she couldn't figure out who would do such a thing. But she wasn't going to stop until he was safe. She heard a knock on the door and saw Kamek walking in. Do you feel better now? He asked. I'm calm if that's what you're asking. But I will not feel better until we save Danny. She said. Princess, we know that he was brought back to the kingdom. We don't know where he is. And I'm sure that the last thing you want to do is turn the whole kingdom upside down just to find him. Kamek said. Bowsette sighs, knowing he had a point. There had to be a way to find him. Wait. Danny told me that his parents are ghost hunters, and they made weapons that kept homing on him. Maybe they have something to help me find Danny. Bowsette thought. Kamek, get some troops, and head towards Amity Park. She orders. What for, Your Highness? Kamek asked. We need some help and there are 2 people that can help us. Bring me Jack and Maddie Fenton, she said. Amity Park. Tucker and Sam had both ran back to Fenton Works and told everyone what happened. What? Again? Maddie asked, shocked. The thing is, the person that was holding him looks like Bowsette, but they were too high up to make out clearly, Sam said. And the flag that was shown was different. It looks like some kind of skull. Tucker added. Jazz was shocked. First his math teacher, and now another woman. Why was every woman after her brother? She knew he wasn't ugly, but Danny always looked more into the person than just blindly agreeing to their demands. Plus, she knew Bowsette wasn't behind this. She got to know the whole family, and they all trust her. Did you kids see which way the ship was heading? Jack asked. Yeah, back to the Koopa Kingdom, Tucker said. If Bowsette is not behind this, then why would someone kidnap Danny? Maddie asked. No one knew, but Jack jumps up and looks ready to run out of the house. I will find my son or my name isn't Jack Fenton. He shouted. Dad, we're all worried for Danny, but we don't even know where he is in Bowsette's kingdom. Jazz told him. Jack looks down and sighs. He sat back down, and everyone tries to find out who would take Danny. However, a knock was heard, and Maddie opens the door. Mrs. Fenton, I bring news from the princess. The spy guard said. News? Jazz asked. She already informed of your son captured and is sending one of her ships here to pick up you. She believes you have something that can find him. He said. We do. Jack asked, confused. We do. Jazz said, getting up. She ran down to the lab, and returns with the boomerang. That's right. Danny's ecto-signature is still on the boomerang. Tucker said. Yes. It does work. Jack cheers. Yes, Dad. It does. But we need to get to the kingdom we can use it. Jazz told him. The ship will be here in an hour. I advise you get ready. The guard said. Right. Kids, you on down the fort. Jack started, but Jazz pulls the boomerang away. No way. I'm not staying behind when my brother is in trouble. I'm coming too. Jazz said. Jazz, we understand that you want to save Danny, but, Maddie started. But nothing. I'm not going to stay behind when my brother could be hurt. Plus, I care for his injuries all the time. Jazz said. Jack and Maddie sigh, knowing that Jazz wasn't going to listen. Alright, Tucker, Sam. Can you watch over the town? Maddie asked. As much as Tucker and Sam wanted to save Danny, Sam was already warned about returning to the kingdom. Though Bowsette forgave her, she hadn't undone all the mistakes she had. She couldn't go back no matter what. Tucker wasn't too fond of medieval castles because no technology works then. Sure, he helped save Sam from Argon, but he wasn't ready to go back just yet. We got things here, Sam said. Unknown place. Dry Bowsette screams as Danny's juices in her for the 30th time. Her skin has yet to fall off, and for some reason, he never seems to run out. Try as he might, he was powerless as long as he had the mask on. They were both naked, minus the mask, and Dry Bowsette panted as she felt Danny shoot more juices in her. Oh. Yes, so thick and yummy. I can feel my body begging for more. She said, shivering. Danny panted as he couldn't take this anymore. Dry Bowsette has been F him for a really long time. Every time he started to run on empty, Dry Bowsette would force him to drink 10 water bottles just to drain him again. Danny was feeling very tired and very sore. Unlike the real Bowsette, Dry Bowsette didn't stop. But unlike Rachel, she was more careful and seemed to let him enjoy the feeling instead of rushing. Luckily, his star power still remembers his wish and stops him from making the strange bony girl PRGNT. I see, you're running dry again. Would you like some more water? Dry Bowsette asked, holding it up. Danny felt his arm raising up to grab and tries to fight back. Then he spotted something. Dry Bowsette's skin was starting to fall off her. She looks and sighs. "Oh, the spell wearing off," she said before chanting. Her skin reforms, but dry Bowsette could tell it was having a hard keeping itself together. "Well, lucky you. I can only hold this for 1 more hour before I need to let the spell recover. That leaves 1 more hour of me." She smirks, placing the bottle in Danny's mouth. Unable to stop himself, Danny drinks the bottle before another one was placed in his hand. "I have some good news. After some thinking, I decided that we're going to get married tomorrow. And the best part? My skin counterpart is going to get the invite," she said. Danny finishes the bottle before speaking. "You're not going to get away with this. You could make yourself look like her, and this mask might make me live out your fantasy, but my heart will always belong to the real Bowsette," he said before another bottle was placed in his mouth. "Unlike your math teacher, I'm not going to get upset about that. After all, I'm counting on my skin counterpart showing up. After all, I need her star power," she said before tossing the empty bottle away. "Now, enough talk. Let's F." Dry Bowsette said, her eyes glowing. "DMN it. Bowsette, help." Danny thought as Dry Bowsette did him again. Bowsette pacing around her throne room, trying to figure out why Danny was taken. None of it made sense. She kept her relationship a secret from her kingdom, only telling the other rulers, and her soldiers, and staff. Yet, the rebels learn about Danny and took him. She was really worried for him. He was someone that was mistreated poorly like she was. Someone that was treated like a monster because of what he was. Something she could relate to. Someone that won her heart, a feat that no one has done before. With a question, Bowsette loved him. To hear that someone would kidnap him, and after dealing with his crazy math teacher, was enough to PSS her off. However, she needed to keep a cool head. She sighs and thought back to her passion nights with Danny. She blushes as she recalls having many wet dreams about him, taking her and giving her everything he has. She blushes, and shook her head. "There's no time for that. I need to wait for the Fentons to find him first," she thought before a knock was heard. "Come in," she said. "Princess, the Fentons are here," the guard said. "Very well, bring them in," Bowsette said. The guard nods, and soon the Fenton family steps. "Jack, Maddie, Jazz. Welcome," she said. "Nice to see you, Bowsette," Jazz said. "I want to say the same, but we need to get to business," Bowsette said. "We know. We are ready to help find our son," Jack said. "I hope you have something to find him," Bowsette said. "We do," Jazz said, pulling out the boomerang. Bowsette raised an eyebrow, and Maddie quickly explained. "This is the boomerang we made for means to tracking down ghosts," she said. "However, it always kept homing on Danny for some reason," Jack said, confused. "Because Danny is half ghost, his ecto-signature is still on it. All we have to do is throw it and follow it," Jazz said. Bowsette smiles. "A chance to find Danny just got bigger. Impressive. Then we might as well start looking," she said before another guard run into the room. "Princess, a letter just came for you," he said, handing it to her. Bowsette raised an eyebrow before reading the letter. She first appears shocked before growling dangerously. "Bowsette?" Jazz asked. "You are invited to the death wedding of Dannyphantom and the dead queen. Bring everyone. Someone dares try to marry my boyfriend," she roars in thought. Whatever this death wedding was, Bowsette didn't like the sound of it. Almost as if they were going to kill him after they got married. She couldn't let that happen. "Let's get moving," she said, shocking the Fentons. The Fentons look at each other and decide to follow her outside the castle where Jazz threw the boomerang. Elsewhere. Danny groans after Dry Bowsette left the room, letting him recover and put his clothes on. He even tries to see if he could remove the mask but found it to be stuck on his face. He puts on his bone clothes and shivers at the thought. Wearing clothes that had bones on them made him very uncomfortable. Not even Sam would like this. He steps out of the room and saw a few dry bone guards. He walks down the hall, seeing many of them bowing at him. He could only guess because Dry Bowsette has him, they were to treat him like a king. Still, they were creepy looking. Their eye sockets had nothing but a small yellow dot. And they look very much like a human. Making him wonder how many people Dry Bowsette killed. Then he was stopped when the thing of his thoughts appears in front of him. "Morning, dear. Today's our big day," she said before kissing him. Even if he could fight against the feeling, the mask made him obey by kissing her back. The death kiss tries to work its magic, but Danny's star power kept it away from his soul. They broke and Dry Bowsette smirks. "After our wedding, we are going to have lots of fun with each other. It will be a honeymoon to remember," she said, smirking. "Dry Bowsette, why do you like me?" Danny asked. "Easy, when I first heard about you, I was surprised to learn that you were half dead. Even more so, when people started to blame you for the attacks. It wasn't until you first appear in the castle that I started to see what my skin counterpart did. A boy that doesn't care what she was and nods how to treat them like a person. I may want her star power, but I also wanted that kind of love. After all, the dead should marry the dead," she said, pressing herself on him. "But, I'm not dead," Danny said, unable to pull away. "No, but I don't care. You're my king now. And I'm not letting you go," she said, kissing him again. Danny knew he was powerless against her thanks to the mask he was wearing. His only hope was to wait until Bowsette finds him before it was too late. Bowsette sighs as she had to use the old toy that her father made for her that she named the Clown Copper. It was really big, her father made it so it would fit her as she grew, but it was also a little crowded thanks to Danny's father. Luckily, no one touches the spiky shell on her back. She flew after the boomerang as fast as she could, her mind set on saving her boyfriend. Jazz was pushed against Bowsette, and she was trying not to move so she could fly. However, she could see the look on her face and had a strong feeling that she could act rash when they find the one that took her brother. "Bowsette, I get that you're angry, but you need to calm down and," Jazz started to say. "I'll calm down when Danny is safe," she said, not looking at her. "How are you going to save him?" Jazz asked. Bowsette blinks. How? She had no idea. All she thought about was finding Danny and beating up the one that kidnapped him. But Jazz brought a point, once they find where Danny is being held, how would they get him out? "I don't know," she finally answers. Jazz felt a bit sad to hear that, but she tries to place a hand on her shoulder. "Just know that we are here to help," she told her. Bowsette Smillies. She knew that the Fenton family were a lovey kind. After all, she spent time with them. She saw the boomerang flying towards the ground and follows after it. To her shock, it leads them into a cave and she had to turn on her headlights. "Swoopers! Get down!" she yells before ducking down low. Jack acted by covering his family and his son's girlfriend with his body. They flew over them, some of them scratching Jack's back. When the swoopers passed them, Jack stood up and Maddie quickly checks his on him. "Jack," she said, seeing that it was trying not to flinch from the marks on his back. "It's just a scratch," he said, flinching a bit. Bowsette sighs. She saw the boomerang heading deeper into a cave and follows after it. Later. Bowsette was shocked to see that giant castle that looks to be made of bones in the middle of a deep cave. She lands a bit away from it and faces the Fentons. "Okay, this is as far as I can go without being seen. We have to travel the rest on foot, she said. They nod and start to walk towards the castle. It didn't take them long to reach the gates before spotting an open window. This window is only big enough for one of us to slip in, Jazz said. Then let me go, Jack said, only to be stopped by Maddie. No, Jack. You're too big, and your back is scratch up. I'll go, she said. Sorry, Mom, but you can't fit either, Jazz said, looking over the window. Then I guess you have to go through it, Bowsette said, knowing her shell would get her stuck. Jazz sighs. She was right. Jazz walks over to the window as Bowsette gave her a boost. Once inside, find the key and see if you can learn where Danny is hidden, Bowsette said. Right, Jazz said, climbing through the window. And stay hidden, Bowsette warns her. Inside the castle, Jazz lands on the ground and looks around. For some reason, the whole place didn't look like a castle. It looked like she was inside a manor. She stood up and decided to look for the key. Who's there? Who dare enters my home? The voice caught Jazz completely off guard, and she fell backward. Whoever, or whatever just spoke, did not sound friendly. Jazz spotted a nearby door and quickly ran through it, closing the door as a dark shadow with red eyes enters the hallway. Jazz took a breath, and notices she was in a room with a bookshelf and a piano. She quietly walks through the room before spotting a shine on the bookshelf. She could make out a key, but it was too high for her. Climbing was out of the question. She had no idea what she was up against, and her parents and Bowsette were outside. She notices an open doorway and saw it lead to a kitchen. She quietly walks into the kitchen before hearing a voice. Where you? I'm so lonely. I only want to play. Jazz shivers. That voice was dripping with pure malice. Whatever was trying to find her was something she didn't want to meet. She then spotted a piano key laying on the counter and picks it up. She then quietly walks back to the piano and started to think. Let's see, if I use the key to open the lid, I can slam it down to make the key on top of the bookshelf fall. But that will also bring in whatever that thing is outside. Jazz thought before looking under the piano. Looks big enough for me to slip under and low enough to not be seen. It's risky, but I have to take that chance, she thought before opening the lid. Taking a deep breath, Jazz grabs the lid and slams it down as hard as she could. The whole room shook, and the key slid off. She had no time to grab though, she quickly got under the piano as she heard fast footsteps heading her way. Jazz held her breath as the creature steps into the room. For some reason, the air was looking very misty, and Jazz could feel the cold from it. It was nipping at her skin, but she stays still. Come out. I have something to show you. Jazz, stay quiet. Soon the creature walks away, back out to the halls. She climbs out from under the piano and releases her breath. What the F was that? She said, not caring she just swore. She picks up the key, and started to think. Okay, that thing is back outside, and there's no way I can get past it, she thought before turning to the piano. She grabs it, and took another breath. She flips it over, making a loud noise. Jazz heard the footsteps and could tell they were coming from the kitchen. Wasting no time, she ran out the door and up the hallway. She slips through another door and enters what appears to be a guest room. With a deep breath, she finds another locked door and walks up it. Jazz found herself in another hallway before hearing the same voice. Ready or not, here I leak. CRP. I got to hide, Jazz thought before running through the nearest door. Jazz could see she had stepped into a bedroom and quietly looks around. She spotted another key on top of the bed and had to find another way to get it. She sees another door and enters what appears to be a baby room. She blinks and spots some balloons. Something she uses to love as a child. She grabs one before walking back into the bedroom. Oh. Get out. I have some cookies. Jazz ignores the voice and puts the balloon under the key. It hits the key, but it didn't fall. Jazz groans before hearing the balloon pop. She pales, and quickly ran out of the room, almost getting seen by the creature. Jazz took a breath and waited for a bit. She heard it walk away and grabs another balloon. She peeks out the door and saw it was clear. She walks over to the bed and uses the balloon to knock the key off, but it still stays on. Oh, on. Jazz groans. She quickly runs back to the baby room before the balloon could pop. Once she was in, she heard a loud roar coming from the room, and she drove under the baby bed, hoping it didn't see her. After a few minutes, Jazz climbs out from under the bed and heads towards the bedroom. She quickly notices two things. 1. A person was laying on the ground, turned into ice. 2. The creature was leaving with the key floating behind it. Jazz groans and quickly follows after the creature. She walks down the hallway and saw some steam from under a door. She quietly opens it and saw the room was filled with steam, but she could still see the key. Jazz started to walk towards it before a flash of lightning made her see the red eyes and quickly backs away. She wasn't seen, but it was getting really risky. She crawls on the floor and got to the key. She reached up to grab it before spotting the creature's long arm. It was about to get out. Jazz grabs the key and quickly runs out, hearing the creature chasing after her. She ran until she found another locked door and opens it. She rushes into the light, hearing a new voice. Jazz. Jazz. Jazz blinks as she found herself standing in the castle hallway. She turns back to the window and saw Bowsette peeking through. Wake up, she said, making Jazz look around confused. What happened? Where's the manor? She asked. You must have fallen into an illusion. This castle must have some kind of spell to stop people from breaking in. She said. An illusion? But it felt so real. Jazz thought before shaking her head. Look, open the door. I can use my star power to break any illusions we come across. Bowsette said. Jazz nods and spots a key. She grabs it and unlocks the door. Once her family was in, Jazz hugs them both, shocking them. They hug her back before they chose to move on. Jazz started to follow them before hearing the same voice. That was fun. Let's play again sometime. Jazz gulps and quickly runs after her family, not seeing the red eyes glowing in a doorway before it slowly shuts. Danny sighs as he put on a tux that was covered in bones. Danny hasn't felt this powerless since before he got his powers. And with the skull mask on his face, he had to go through with it. He doesn't know if Bowsette won't make it, but he really hates feeling like this. The mask was blocking his powers and making him go along with the whole wedding thing. Not to mention, wearing bones on his clothing was really weirding him out. My, you're looking handsome. Danny turns and saw dry Bowsette walking up to him, wearing a gray wedding dress that also had bones hanging off it. Isn't it bad luck for the groom to see the bride before the wedding ceremony? Danny asked. Not in my castle. Besides, I can wait for our honeymoon. Dry Bowsette said. Dry Bowsette, stop. I already know why you're doing this. You told me already that you want Bowsette's star power. Setting up this marriage is just a way to get Bowsette to get here. I already know how dangerous Bowsette is when she's mad. Danny said. Ah. So you are smarting than your grades make you out to be. Well, don't worry. With me at your side, no one will ever mess with you. Dry Bowsette said, kissing him. Danny felt himself kiss her back as well as his star power protecting his soul. He wasn't sure how long it would, though. Dry Bowsette has been kissing him a lot, and it felt as if the star power was growing weaker. If this keeps up, then he will turn into a dry bones himself. Dry Bowsette broke the kiss before smiling. Our wedding is happening in a few minutes. When the priest asks if you will take me to be your wife, you will say yes. She said, walking away. Danny could only sigh. He really hopes that Bowsette got the invite and was on her way to help him. Sneaking around was not Bowsette's strong suit, but there were too many guards. Because of Jack Fenton's huge size and orange jumpsuit, they were spotted a few times. Luckily both she and Maddie would take out the guards before they could raise the alarm. Finally, they found an empty room and decide to hide there for a while. Okay, this is getting way too risky, Bowsette said. What do you mean? Jack asked. I guess I know where Danny got his clueless from. Bowsette thought before sighing. Mr. Fenton, I mean no disrespect, but you're giving us away every time we hide. You stick out from a place that supposes to be dark and scary. She said. Jack was still lost in Jazz sighs. Dad, what she means is, out of all of us, you're bigger and wear a bright orange jumpsuit. You stick out like a sore thumb. Jazz told him. Jack, I do love you, but the girls are right, Maddie said. Jack looked upset, but he couldn't deny it. He was the reason that they kept getting seen. He didn't want to leave his son behind, but they need a better way to stay hidden. Bowsette knew he was upset, but he had to know the truth. Even if they could disguise Jack, he was still too big. If only. Wait, what if I wish, Bowsette thought before turning to them. I might have an idea. She said, making the Fentons look at her. A few minutes later. Bowsette peeks out the door and saw it was clear. She, Jazz, and Maddie exit the room before a tiny voice spoke up. This is a terrible idea. Bowsette had used her star power to make Jack really small. Small enough to fit in Maddie's pocket. It was being small or sent back home, Bowsette told him. Jack pouted before ducking back into Maddie's pocket. Is he going to be okay? Maddie asked. Yes, I'll undo the wish once we find Danny, Bowsette said. The wedding was here, and Danny found himself standing next to a dry bones priest. As much as he wishes to say no to this, the mask won't let him. Before the wedding, Dry Bowsette had the mask made him speak only the words he has to say. He was forced to go along with this, and he hated even second of it. Soon a creeper version of Here Comes the Bride plays, and Dry Bowsette walks in. Danny could only stand next to her as they both faced the priest. After a long speech, though Danny thought he was being sent to his doom, the priest finally got to the vows. Do you, Princess Dry Bowsette, take Dannyphantom to be your undead husband? He asked. I do. Dry Bowsette smirks. Do you, Dannyphantom, take Princess Dry Bowsette to be your undead wife? He asked. Danny felt his mouth move and tries to stop it. Aye. Dry Bowsette smirks, impressed that he was fighting against the words. But the mask was too powerful. IDO. He said. Then you kiss. He said. Danny found himself facing Dry Bowsette and started to lift the veil. Dry Bowsette smirks. Her plan was coming together. Once the kiss was sealed, Danny was all hers and her skin counterpart Star Power will be all hers. Before the kiss was done, the door bangs open. Everyone turns to see Bowsette standing there, shaking with rage. What happened to if anyone does not wish to see these two marry, speak now, or forever hold your peace? She asks, making many guards aiming her weapons at her. Dry Bowsette was a bit surprised to see her but smirks anyway. She turns, and planted a kiss on Danny, but he was pulled away before he could kiss back. Jazz was shocked to see that Bride's face looked like Bowsette, only darker skin, and red hair. They heard a roar and saw Bowsette tearing through the guards. She ran up and throws a punch at the bride, who catches it. Princess Bowsette Koopa. It's an honor to meet you at last. Dry Bowsette smirks. And just who the hell are you? Bowsette growls. Princess Dry Bowsette. The future wife of Dannyphantom. She said, punching Bowsette back. Bowsette crashes into the seats but stood back up, her eyes turning red. Roar! She charges at dry Bowsette, who gave an evil grin before countering her punch with her own. Jazz helped Danny out of his suit, glad to wearing clothes underneath it. Jazz reaches for the mask, but Danny stops her. Don't. Only dry Bowsette can take it off. He said. Danny, who is dry Bowsette? Jazz asked. Danny started to say, only feel the mask shut his mask. Danny? Jazz asked. Sorry, but he was saying too much. Dry Bowsette said, dodging a punch. Bowsette growls as she took a deep breath and shot out her fire. Dry Bowsette copied her and shot out blue fire. The two flames push against each other, but Bowsette was tiring out quickly. Dry Bowsette breathes more blue fire out and overpowers Bowsette's. Bowsette was hit and knocks to the wall. Danny wanted to get up and check on her, but the mask made him stay. Jazz didn't like this and grabs the mask. Jazz, don't. Danny said, feeling his face getting pulled. Oh. A new playmate? Jazz's eyes widened when she heard that voice. The area became misty once more, and Jazz found herself facing the creature once more. It grabs her by the neck and lifts her up. Jazz could feel its ice-cold touch travel through her body as she looks into the red eyes of the creature. But, you're an illusion. Jazz said, trying to break free. Am I? Jazz watches as the black misty fades off its body, and its red eyes turn into aqua. Jazz gasps at the creature turn into herself. She was clearly older, and her hair was hanging over her face. Her clothes were torn in different places, and she had an insane grin on her face. My dearest Jasmine. I'm not an illusion. I'm you. She said, sounding much like Jazz. What? Jazz screams. I have always been you. The castle had given me a reason to exist. Now, I can finally do what I wanted to do. She said, bring Jazz closer to her face. Jazz tries to break free but found her being kissed by her insane counterpart. For some reason, she felt her body getting cold. Like she was freezing from the inside out. Jazz. Jazz heard another voice, and it sounded like her brother. Her insane counterpart broke the kiss and grins. You're mine. She said. Jazz felt her body being frozen and heard her insane counterpart laugh. Danny notices that Jazz's eyes suddenly became misty, and she stopped moving. Jazz. He said, trying to snap her out of her trance. He then heard insane laughter coming from her and backs away. Jazz looks UPS and Danny was shocked to see her face. She had a very creepy grin on her face, and her hair fell in front of her face. Jazz isn't here. I'm Jasmine. She said before grabbing Danny. And I'm going to keep you away from those girls. She said. Danny could tell this wasn't his sister. He felt the mask making his body do something, and for once, he let it. He pushes his sister off him and backs away. I'm not going anywhere. Give me back my sister. Danny said. I am your sister. I'm what she truly feels when other girls try to take you. Jasmine said, walking up to him. Danny found himself being pulled away and saw he was in dry Bowsette's arms. I see that the trap gave you life. Too bad that you're only human. She said. Am I? Jasmine said, her grin still on her face. Roar. Everyone turns to see Bowsette running towards them, her dress burned to where her legs were showed. Bowsette punches dry Bowsette and grabs Danny. She jumps back and looks at Danny, her face taking in more of a calm look. Let go of my brother. Bowsette turns and saw Jasmine rushing at her. She reaches out and grabs her face. She could tell that the illusion had taken hold of Jazz and knew she was having trouble fighting it. She called forth her star power and sends its power into Jasmine. Jasmine screams before falling onto the ground. Danny blinks before looking at Bowsette. She sent him down, and faces dry Bowsette, who was walking up to them. Humph. It's a shame it chooses to focus on trying to keep Danny for herself, she said, smirking. Bowsette growls before stepping up to her. Danny tries to tell her earlier, but I might as well show you, she said, smirking. Bowsette's eyes widen as she saw her look-alike skin melt off, leaving a skeleton that looks just like her. Now you know I'm called Dry Bowsette, she said, smirking. Bowsette was shocked to see the look-alike turn into a skeleton, but she shook it off. She came to save her boyfriend and teach whoever took him a lesson. She rushes forward, and threw a punch. Dry Bowsette smirks, and she threw her own, causing the two fists to let out a shockwave. Bowsette growls as Dry Bowsette kept smirking. Bowsette threw a kick, thanks to her bottom dress being gone. Dry Bowsette blocks it with her arm before grabbing her leg and threw her to a wall. Bowsette pulls herself free and rushes back at her. Danny wasn't able to do anything due to the mask keeping him out of the fight. He felt a hand touch his shoulder and saw his mom. Mom? He asked. Let's get you out of here, she said. I can't. This mask is forcing me to obey Dry Bowsette. Even if I could, I can't. And she's the only one that can take this off, Danny told her. Maddie looks over the mask as Jack pops from the pocket. Can I have a look? He asked. Danny was surprised to see his father so small but said nothing about it. Maddie held up Jack to the mask, and he slips through the cracks. They both heard Bowsette get kicked back and slams into a wall again. She drops to the ground, panting. Dry Bowsette walks up to her, still smirking. Really, I heard you're the toughest in your kingdom. And yet, you can barely fight me. What's the matter, oh princess? To warp up in winning our boyfriend's heart? Dry Bowsette smirks. Bowsette didn't understand it. How was she so strong? She's nothing but a pile of bones. Bones that she should crush. Dry Bowsette leads down to her face and smirks. Danny is mine, and so is your star power, she said, ready to kiss her. Danny was very worried. He knew if Bowsette is kissed by Dry Bowsette, then she was done for. Then he remembers about her star power. Danny started to feel for his star power and felt the mask trying to stop him, but he wasn't going to let it. I wish Bowsette was at full strength and would kick Dry Bowsette bone as, he thought. Bowsette flew something surround her and smirks. She grabs her skeleton counterpart by her face and pushes her back. Heh, I was just getting warm up, she said, punching her across the face. Dry Bowsette slams into the wall, and her eyes glow brightly. She charges at Bowsette, who stood ready before dodging a punch. She blocks another one before punching Dry Bowsette. Then she hit her with a knee to the rubs before she headbutts her face. Dry Bowsette took a few steps back before looking up, with a huge crack on her face. Bowsette charges forward and throws a kick. Dry Bowsette blocked the kick before trying to punch her. Bowsette dodges them before punching her back. Bowsette jumps towards her, and threw a downward kick that Dry Bowsette blocks. Bowsette flips back before the two princesses went at it. Punch for punch. Kick for kick. The two fought as if they were titans. While that was happening, Danny felt something moving behind his mask and saw his father climbing out. I have looked over the mask and it looks to have some kind of magic to it, he said. But, honey, you don't believe in magic, Maddie said, taking him off. Maybe not, but I can't think of anything else, he said. Magic? Danny thought. If magic was keeping the mask on him, then maybe magic can get it off. However, his star power was weak due to the number of times it protects him from Dry Bowsette kisses. Maybe his and Bowsette's star power could overcome it. Knowing that Dry Bowsette might hear him if he tries to tell Bowsette his plan, he had to think of another way. Think, Danny, think. Theirs has to be a way. If only I could connect with her thoughts. He thought, not knowing his star power granting his wish. Hey! Who's in my head? Kamek. You better not using that mind reader spell again. Bowsette? Danny? What are you doing in my head? Let's worry about that later. Listen, this mask on my face is keeping me from helping you. According to my father, this mask is magic. Dry Bowsette kept telling me that only she could remove it. But, what if we could instead? What do you mean? My star power has been protecting me from her spell that turns anyone into a dry bone just by kissing them. If we both make the same wish, we could remove the mask. See, student, my ass. Let's do it. Danny felt the link disappear and close his eyes. Bowsette jumps away from her skeleton counterpart, and did the same. They made their wish, and their star powers reacted. Danny reaches up and grabs the mask. He pulls, and the mask came off. Danny sighs as he felt his face. After wearing it for a full day, it was getting to feel his skin. He looks at his mother, who smiles to see his face again. Danny stood up and turned into his ghost form. He flew towards Dry Bowsette, and punches her. Dry Bowsette took a few steps back and shook her head. She then turns to see Danny in his ghost form, without the mask. What? How did you? She asked, shocked. There's a lot of things we don't know about our star power, Danny said before shooting an ectoblast at her, knocking her into a pillar. By the way, I don't want to marry you, he said before the room shook. The room was badly damaged from the battle that the two princesses were doing, and it now seems the room was no longer being able to hold up. The two lovers looked at each other and nod. Bowsette scoops up Jazz as they, along with Maddie, ran out of the room. Later. Everyone was on Bowsette's airship as Kamek decided to bring one after not hearing from them for some time. He was happy to see the princess and her boyfriend safe but notices some strange magic coming off of Jazz. Bowsette told him that Jazz was caught under an illusion, and it had taken control of her. He nods, and had her taken to a different part of the ship so she could be looked at. Bowsette turns Jack back to normal, and the old Fentons hugs their son, glad to see him safe. Bowsette orders the ship to return to the castle, where she wants the Fenton family to rest before returning them home. It was a bit of a trip, but they were able to reach the castle. Jazz was taken to Kamek's lab, where he could get a better read of the magic on her. Bowsette had a few guards show Jack and Maddie their rooms before she took Danny to hers. As soon as the door was closed, Bowsette kisses him and didn't let up. Danny, glad to feel her lips, just kissed back, knowing it wouldn't kill him. Between his math teacher and Dry Bowsette, he loves Bowsette lips the most. They both broke for air as Bowsette smiles. I really miss you, she said. So did I. Danny smiles. Bowsette was more than ready to take Danny right then and there. But there were a few things to take care of. Danny, your sister is trapped in an illusion. As long as she remains in it, she'll be too dangerous to go back to Amity Park, she said. Danny sighs. He knew that person that spoke to him wasn't the same person that was his sister. Will Kamek be able to free her? Danny asked. As much as a worrywart he is, Kamek is the best magic user in the kingdom. I trust him to save your sister, she said. What about my friends? Danny asked. They are back in your hometown. They are forbidden to step foot in my kingdom unless I say so, Bowsette said. It did make Danny a little glad that his friends weren't part of the recuse. But he did want to see them again. Bowsette could see the look on his face and smile. You can write a note to them. Let them know you're safe, she said. Danny smiles and kisses her again. Mind if I do that now? He asked. By all means, she said. Danny smiles, and ran out of the room. Bowsette sighs and looks at the picture of her family. Looks like I got more than I wanted. Papa, Mama, I hope you're proud of me, she said. Meanwhile, a pile of rubble moves before dry Bowsette stood up. She notices her right arm still in the rubble and pulls it out. After making sure all of the rubble was out, she places her arm back on and walks out of the room. A few dry bones bow at her as one hand her the mask. Dry Bowsette smirks and took the mask. Heh, so, they thought they've seen the last of me. Well, this war is far from over, she said, smirking. The mask glowed as dry Bowsette laughs. Bowsette treated the family to a feast to welcome the Fentons to his castle and to celebrate the recuse of Danny. Jack was eating the food like no tomorrow as Maddie ate normally. Danny sat with Bowsette as he ate his food. Bowsette smiles, glad to see him again. Danny ate a piece of the meat and drank his cup. Did she not feed you? Maddie asked. She was slowly killing me due to her kisses. My star power kept me alive, but there was so much before it could stop it. She was kissing me almost non-stop, Danny said. Bowsette looks upset but then smiles. How about I give you a kiss? She said, pulling him in one. Danny was shocked for a second before returning the kiss. Jack and Maddie smiles and lets the two have their moment. They broke the kiss and smiles at each other. They look as they were about to kiss again, but remember they had more guests. So, how's Jazz doing? Danny asked, blushing. Kamek is looking over her as we speak. Last I heard he's trying to remove the creature that is inside her. I still don't know how that happened. My star power should have broken the spell, Bowsette said, confused. Danny sighed. That person he saw in dry Bowsette Castle was not his sister. She felt very cold, even when standing next to her. But he knew Jazz didn't have ice powers. Bowsette taps her hand on his, and smiles. How about a bath? I don't think you want to go home smelling like you were raised from the grave, she said, sharing a knowing wink. I guess I do need one, Danny said. Bowsette smiles and faces the Fentons. Before you two try anything, this is my castle, and you're the guests. Plus, he's my boyfriend, she said. Jack and Maddie sigh. They understood what she was trying them. Very well, but no funny business, Maddie said. It's how they are. Don't worry about it, Danny told her. Bowsette nods and leads Danny away from the table. She was looking forward to their special time again. Kamek's lab. Kamek stood over the unconscious form of Jazz Fenton. After hearing that she was trapped in an illusion and it had overtaken her, he didn't want any chances before she woke up. He had her strapped down on his table and use his magic to find the source of the illusion. It didn't take him long to find it, but it was at a piece that was very risky to remove. It's spreading from her heart. It's trying to make her as cold-hearted as possible. If I don't remove it soon, then she will never be the same person, Kamek said. He summons a book and looks over the spell. He flips through a few pages before finding what he was looking for. He walks over to his table and mixes together a few potions. He then walks back to Jazz and opens her mouth. He pours it into her mouth and had her drink it. Jazz's eyes snap open and let out a scream as she trashes. Kamek knew it was working, and pulls out his magic wand. He waves the wand over her and saw a black mist leaving her mouth. Wasting no time, he grabs a magic jar and tabs the spirit inside. He closes the lid and looks over Jazz again. He could see that her body was starting to freeze after the spirit tries to fight the potion. He casts a warmth spell and sighs. There, she just needs some rest and she bit all right, he said, looking at the jar. Now, to deal with you, he said. Dry Bowsette's castle. Dry Bowsette sat on her throne, holding the death mask. It glows once more, letting her know it was almost ready. She might have lost the boy, but she did get something else. Oh my love, you might have escaped me, but it was too late. You were mine the second I put this mask on. Even after having SEC, the mask got all it needed. She said before tossing the mask away. It lands on the ground before it let out a bright light. The mask floated into the air, and a body started to form. The light fades from it and there stood dannyphantom, but much different. While looking the same, he looks more like a skeleton. He had gray hair, and his eyes were glowing blue. Due to the mask, his face looks like a mixture of Danny's and a skull. He blinks before seeing dry Bowsette. Ah! My princess! He said, bowing. Dry Bowsette smirks before stepping up to him. The two kiss and into it. They broke as dry Bowsette wrap her arms around his neck as he wraps his arms around her waist. The two skeleton lovers smile at each other before kissing again. They broke again, and dry Bowsette chanted. Soon her skin appears on her, and her lover also grain skin. He looks like Danny, but he still had gray hair. My, you look so handsome with your skin. She said, purring. And you look appealing. Skeleton Danny said. If you're up to it, my dear, we can have some fun. Dry Bowsette said, pulling down her top. Of course. Which room? He said, letting her put her hand in his pants. Here, now. She smirks. Back at Bowsette's castle. Kamek looks over the trap mist, trying to decide on what to do with it. However, he didn't notice another mist hovering over Jazz and seems to touch her, but not entering her. Jazz's body glows, and her body started warming up much faster. By the time Kamek thought to see how Jazz was doing, the glow and mist were gone before he turned around. Jazz groans and opens her eyes. She blinks before seeing Kamek standing over her, placing his hand on her forehead. How are you feeling? He asked. Cold, Jazz said, shivering a bit. Your body seems to warm up greatly in the past half hour. You still feel cold, but give yourself a few minutes. Kamek said and undid the straps. Jazz sat up, and rubs her shoulders. Where am I? Jazz asked. Back in the princess's castle. Your brother is safe. Kamek said. Jazz was surprised to hear that. She sighs and moves to the ledge of the table. She then notices the jar and the mist inside. Jazz could swear she saw red eyes glowing from it. Kamek notices what she was looking at and moves the jar. Where's Danny? She asked. Kamek looks at the time and quickly guessed where he was. You might have to wait for a bit. It's their special time. Kamek sighs. Jazz looks ready to say something but felt her stomach growl. Come, let's get you some food, Kamek said, helping her out of his lab. With Danny and Bowsette. Both lovers sat in Bowsette's huge tub, with Bowsette leading her body on Danny. She was happy to feel his body once more. She was really scared when he was kidnapped again. And he was almost married to whatever that thing was. Bowsette didn't get who or what that thing was or why it looked like her. However, she decides to worry about it later. How are you feeling? She asked Danny, rubbing her melons on his arm. Fine, now that I have the real Bowsette with me. Danny smiles. I'm glad. I was really worried about you. Bowsette said, sighing. Bowsette, no matter what happens, no one can take my love for you away. Sure, that skeleton might look like you, but she didn't have the same kind of heart you do. Danny said. Bowsette smiles and kisses him as well as grabbing his large pages. Danny almost flinched but remained still as Bowsette started to slide it with her hand. Danny knew why she was doing that, and he didn't mind. This was his real girlfriend. They broke their kiss, but Bowsette didn't stop stroking. It might not be a week, but she didn't care. F me. She whispers. Danny smiles and saw Bowsette move until she was in front of him. She pushes his PP into her PP, biting her lip as she felt it stretch her insides. Oh, yes. I miss this feeling, she said. Danny grabs her peach and slowly started to move her. However, he then stops, confusing Bowsette. Why did you stop? She asked. Your guards. I have a strong feeling they are watching us, Danny said. Bowsette growls. Even after threatening them, they still didn't stop watching her. She stood up, and grabs Danny's hand. Come on. I got a better spot, she said, leading him through the secret passage. Secret garden. Danny and Bowsette step out to the garden that was kept a secret from her guards. Bowsette tosses their clothes aside and lays on her back. Now, let's continue, she said, spreading her legs. Danny smiles and lays on top of her, pushing his PP back in. He slowly that's in her, hearing her cute Ah, I love this. Bowsette After being RPE again, I'll gladly F you anytime, Danny said, flirting a bit harder. Danny, I love you. Bowsette And I love too, Danny said, smiling. Harder, she said before Danny grant her wish. Bowsette wraps her arms around Danny as she from the vats. His large PP felt so great, she wasn't sure how that monster fooled her up each time, but she didn't care. She loves it and it was all hers. Come on, more, she said. As you wish, princess, Danny said, thatting as hard as he could. Bowsette screams from the amount of his PP that went inside her. She knew Danny was giving her everything he had. Danny didn't know how good her PP felt so good each time they had SEC, but he couldn't get enough of it. He PNDS her as hard as he could, trying not to leak too soon. Bowsette then sat him, pushing him on the ground. She puts her hands on his chest, and started to ride his pages. Both lovers as they both try to prevent themselves from leaking. However, Danny felt something else. CRP I need to pee, he said. Bowsette looks surprised but smiles. Then go, she said. But where? I don't want to ruin the garden, Danny asked. In me. I'll take your PSS, she said, shaking her peach. But Danny tries to say but couldn't hold back anymore. Danny grabs her peach and waters her. Bowsette as she felt his PSS drip out of her PP and back onto him. Danny sighs as he felt much better, but he couldn't believe he waters inside Bowsette. It was different than leaking. He was about to say something before Bowsette bit her bottom lips and waters as well. Did you just water from my PSS? Danny asked. Sorry, it just felt so unreal, Bowsette said, sighing. Danny shook his head but smiles. Then let's keep going, he said. Later. Bowsette was on her feet as Danny held to her arms, thatting very quickly. Bowsette couldn't stop from each move, enjoying the feeling. Oh. Yes. More, she said as her melons bounce. Danny could feel the real thing coming and knew what to do. He PNDS her one last time and shot his thick juices in her. Bowsette cries out with pleasure as her TQ hangs from her mouth. Danny shot a few more into Bowsette before he pants. DMN. I forgot how much you can hold, Danny said. And I haven't forgotten how good this feels, Bowsette said, sweating from their lovemaking. Danny pulls himself out and lets go of Bowsette. Bowsette falls to the ground, twitching as some of the juices drips out of her pages. Danny sat down as he tried to catch his breath. Are you okay? He asked Bowsette. Yes. Oh. I'm going to be walking funny for a week, she answers. Danny stood up, and helps Bowsette to her feet. I think that's enough for now. Let's get clean up and head back, he said. Bowsette smiles and kisses Danny. The two lovers head back to the bathroom to wash up and get a good night's sleep. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for more crossovers. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Phantom Fan 21 on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.